Hey everybody! So today we are doing my monthly series where I talk about the movies I saw in the theater and the movies I saw at home. So September ended up being a busy month for me. I ended up seeing a lot of movies. I guess I just had a lot of free time this month. The first movie that I saw in September is called Un Gallo con Muchos Huevos. This is an animated film that comes out of Mexico, and it is based evidently on a animated series, I believe, that is popular there. And it does have PG-13 rating. It definitely earns it with some fairly strong innuendo. It's really wacky and weird, and but I thought it had some pretty good laughs, and I thought the animation was really good, especially considering it had a $5 million budget. You look at the animation home was $135 million. It just seems hard to believe that this film cost $5 million to make. It's very predictable, and I don't really like all the innuendo. A good way for kids to get their first experience in a subtitled film. It is also the first review that I ever got posted on rotoscopers.com, which I was really excited about because I love that website. So I'll put a link down to that review if you want to check it out. This film that I saw in theaters, I reviewed on this channel, so I won't talk about it too much. It's The Walk in the Woods, and this was based on the Bill Bryson memoir, which I had read. Much older for Robert Redford to play and Nick Nolte. And I thought it was kind of charming. I enjoyed watching it. It's kind of movie that I'm a real sucker for. It's definitely really sentimental and really maudlin, and I think I could have done without the R-rated moments. I don't think it really added anything, although that is definitely in the book. So, you know, I think it would have been better as just a outright kind of family film. Next film I saw in the theater is War Room, and I also reviewed that on this channel. I've had a lot of good responses to that review. Thank you very much. And this, I really liked the concept. I thought that it made some improvements as far as Christian cinema. I liked that there wasn't any atheist shaming. I liked that the story was kept pretty small, just to this one marriage and this one family until the very, very end. I thought that the lead actress, even though she's not a professional actress, I thought she did really well, and I liked her performance, and I really liked the idea of the war room. I did not care for some of the over-the-top moments where I felt like they tried to turn Jesus into a superhero. Some of the acting was weak, and the writing could have been better. The film I saw was Kahlil Gibran's The Prophet, and this is a smaller animated film that is kind of a package film. They took the poetry of Kahlil Gibran, and then they asked 8 different artists and animators like Bill Plympton, Tom Moore, a bunch of different ones to make these little shorts about the poems. And the shorts are amazing. Gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful, lovely, artistic. Package it around this story about this man who is this prophet who's kind of been under house arrest, and there's this little girl, and I thought that that whole part of it seemed very Sunday school, seemed very, it just wasn't very good. It was corny and really just a bunch of sermons, and so it really hurt when it went back to that framing device, I thought, and that part was tough to get through. So I recommend getting it and then just on your DVD just skipping to the shorts, because those are great. The next 2 films I've talked quite a bit about, and I actually saw at a drive-in movie theater with my 2 sisters. I saw Inside Out again, 4th time, and I love it so much. It's so great. Oh. And then I also saw Ant-Man, and so that was really, really fun to go to the drive-in. And, you know, I like that at the drive-in you can have your phone out, you can do your own thing, you can like both those films. I think they're both really entertaining, and of course Inside Out is my favorite of the year so far. It's called Learning to Drive, and this starred Patricia Clarkson and Ben Kingsley. And this movie, I think, had pretty good performances, but it had a problem with tone, that we had certain moments it wanted to be a romantic comedy, other moments wanted to be a drama, other moments it was kind of a sex romp sort of thing. Like there was this weird sort of humor in that way. And so I felt like it was just kind of all over the place as far as tone, and that was a big problem. Ben Kingsley's character, I thought he was really interesting. You don't have a Sikh man on the movies very much, and Patricia Clarkson seemed like the perfect embodiment of sort of a yuppie New Yorker. And the next film I saw is called Once I Was a Beehive, and this is a film that is probably only released in Utah or Idaho, more Mormon areas. A lot of these Mormon films have some of the same problems that Christian films can have, where they end up being kind of preachy, and the acting tends to not be very good because they have a low budget and all of that. Well, I think that this one was done really, really well. And I think that it has some appeal to non-Mormons. I don't know. It's about a girl who's not Mormon who ends up going to girls' camp. She's lost her father. Her mother has remarried. And so she's gone through quite a bit. And I thought the lead girl was really good. And then she meets her new kind of cousin, has some social anxieties and other issues. And so they end up going to girls' camp together. And it's basically about these girls and how they experience nature. And I thought that it was really sweet, but not too sweet. And I had good performances. I think some of the humor doesn't really work that well, but it was a layered, nuanced, like, she's not a bad person just because she's not a part of the faith, which sometimes you get in Christian or Mormon movies. She's actually a really good person. Next movie I saw, my sister was in town and she wanted to see Pitch Perfect 2, so I went and saw it again, and I really thought it was funny. Not every joke works. They definitely go back to certain wells too much, so a joke kind of stops working when it maybe worked a couple times. And it's really silly plot. Like, it's basically the same plot that they had for, like, Mighty Ducks. Like, the first one was Nationals. The second one is, of course, World Championship. But it made me laugh, you know? And that's what a comedy's job is. If it made me laugh, then it did its job. The movie I saw is The Maze Runner Scorch Trials. And I didn't really care for this film. I think it's well made. I think the acting's pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but it's kind of a local author, and so my friends were going, so I went and saw it. I'm not a huge dystopian movie fan, and I just thought that the action was unending, and I was shocked at how violent it was for PG-13. It's pretty violent, and it just never gives you a time to, like, breathe. And I was also sitting in the D-box seats, which are the worst things ever in the history of everything. Like, it moves you all around, and you're like, oh, it was awful. So that could have colored my experience. I totally own to that. But I know, I just felt like they expected us to care about characters that we had just been introduced. Someone like Brenda, we just meet. And then the next scene, he's like supposed to be saving her, and, you know, and leaving his friends behind to make sure she gets saved. And I just felt like he just met her. Like, she could be bad. Like, we don't know enough. And I felt like that was a lot of the problems, is that these characters just weren't very well developed. And so I thought the ending seemed really false. It didn't work for me. I haven't read the books. Next film that I saw, I reviewed on this channel, is Hotel Transylvania 2, which is fun. It's a fun, not great, no masterpiece, but I think you have an enjoyable time at the movies if you go. I think kids will laugh. I laughed a couple times. The animation's pretty good. The next movie that I saw is The Intern, and I was a little bit disappointed with this movie because I thought it was going to be a movie that I loved, because I really liked the trailer, and I really like romantic comedies, and I really like movies about work. I ended up just thinking it was okay. I thought that the two leads were really charming and really good, Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro, but I felt like his character was underdeveloped, and the events that go around Anne Hathaway's personal life I felt were really unrealistic and were resolved way too easily and in a very unrealistic way. So that bothered me. But I did laugh, and it's charming. It's an enjoyable film. It just wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. So the next film that I saw is The Fantastic Four. I finally saw it, and I saw some value in it. I didn't think it was as bad as other people did. I thought that the four leads were actually pretty good. in their parts. And I thought that some of the early parts were pretty good as far as the writing and the pacing and everything like that. But the special effects were so bad. I couldn't believe it. For a major Hollywood movie, it looked like the kind of special effects that you'd see in Charmed or in Smallville or something like that, like with a way smaller budget. Like I don't know, some of the worst special effects I've ever seen in a movie. I think I would probably have hated it if I had like investment in the franchise or the characters, but I'm really not that big a superhero person, and I definitely have no investment in the Fantastic Four. So that the guy who played Franklin, I thought that he wasn't a very good actor, and I thought that he seemed, for somebody that's supposed to have two children that are these characters, which there wasn't really a need to bring his children into this thing. I didn't really get why this team was assembled. It didn't really explain it very well. You knew why Reed was in there, but why these others, were involved instead of like top level NASA people or the Victor Von Doom stuff. Toby Kebbell, who was so great in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, he wasn't good. Special effects, I mean, he was so bad for Dr. Doom, and it's just a really boring character, I thought, the way they did it, at least. I'm sure he's great in the comics. I've heard he is, but I thought it was very badly done, and the ending is just really bad. Last movie that I saw is The Visit, and I was going to see The Iron Giant, and then I accidentally went to the wrong theater, so I ended up seeing The Visit. And it wasn't very good. I feel like a lot of people with The Visit it's like if you went to McDonald's every day for 10 days and then you went to Sizzler, you'd be like, wow, Sizzler is so great. And I feel like a lot of people are doing that with this. It's like we've seen, 7 films from Shyamalan that have sucked. And, so it's like The Visit is like Sizzler. It's fine. It's okay. It's food, but it's not great. It's not like Le Cordon Bleu or something like that. It's not fine dining. And so, but because it's not McDonald's, we're like treating it as if it's like this great thing when it's not. It's like a generic horror movie. I knew exactly what was happening, so it really wasn't that big of a surprise for me. The found footage thing, not only was it annoying, but it didn't work within the story. I think there's no way that these grandparents would have allowed these kids to be filming. Given their characters and personalities, it just didn't work with the whole story, so it becomes really distracting. I thought that the twist, of course there's a twist because it's a Shyamalan film, and I thought it was so obvious and so predictable. And I thought the whole premise of the movie seemed very strained. The idea that a mother would allow her children to go, she's estranged from her parents so much that she has no contact with them at all, and yet she's allowing her children to go there and visit them without any pictures or anything. That seemed crazy to me. I didn't buy it, and so already going into it, it's like, But the good things about The Visit is that it is tighter than most Shyamalan films. There's not times where he's trying to preach at you or philosophize at you. He keeps himself out of this film, thank goodness. There's not a lot of times where just nothing's happening, which has been a long time since there's been that for Shyamalan. And so in that sense, it is an improvement for sure. And if you like horror movies and you like scary movies, they're not my favorite, then it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's just not like Cordon Bleu. It's not a masterpiece. Like, people need to calm down. Just because he made a competent movie does not mean that this movie is great. And I did think that the two kids were pretty good as far as the acting. Is the movies that I saw in the theater in September, which is crazy. I can't even believe I saw that many, but there you go. That's what I did. So let me know what you thought of these films, and check out my blog because I have longer reviews to most of these films in there. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.